We are hosting a Hearthstone tournament for our entire community. If you want to join, it is completely free. You have to join our Discord server, link in the description, and you'll find all the necessary information there. Additionally to that, the tournament bracket will be drawn live on Monday, 3 p.m. Eastern Time and 9 p.m. Central European, so hopefully we'll see you there soon. Welcome back to another special episode of the Hearthstone Report. This seems to be the 12th balance update within this expansion, and because there's another Battlegrounds update, we actually brought in the #1 leading expert on Battlegrounds, at least in our community, and I believe also actually one of the better Battlegrounds players in the entire Hearthstone community. You're seeing him in the bottom left of your screen. This is Lulnenko. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly.
Yep. Glad to be here. Thank you for that introduction. You're too kind, but I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Glad to have you. Honor is ours because we're not the best Battlegrounds players anymore. We've never really been. If you've seen our video last week, you've seen that JJ is at about 4,500 rating. I'm pretty sure you're almost tripling that. And I'm not far ahead of that either. So we're definitely glad to have you get some good opinions on that. He's of course longtime member of our Discord server and one of those highly knowledgeable people that we oftentimes mention whenever we talk about why you should join that. So there's a reason to join it. Link in the description. We'll get into some Trash Bowl stuff, but first we're going to this article and the news that we're actually looking at with this patch that sort of came out of nowhere. I feel like.
I mean, it was the patch for the adventure, so it makes sense that they released it. There is a Twin slash nerf. We're gonna talk about that at the end because we're going through this in order.
We're on a logical order.
Just try to keep the attention.
So yeah, adventure is out, like JJ mentioned, right? Go play it. It's all free. The Demon Hunter solo challenge thingy.
I guess we're gonna start off with the Battlegrounds changes, and there is a couple of hero powers that were changed. First of all, we've got the hero power for Jiraxxus being reduced to only now cost 1 gold.
So I remember at the very beginning when I also played a little Battlegrounds, I liked playing Jiraxxus and demons were pretty good and I actually thought he was really good. And then I stopped playing for a while and then I saw the rankings and he was all the way down. Like he was basically the worst hero for a long time. I guess because it's too restrictive. And now they're reducing the hero power. I guess it makes sense if he's really that bad. But maybe you can tell us more about that. How did it happen that Jiraxxus fell from grace? Or was he always terrible?
So, the story with Jiraxxus has always been that he is one of the stronger or more okay heroes at lower ranks, and the higher you climb, the more he falls off. Up at the high lobbies, if you're at 11,000 or something, he's going to be the worst hero in the game, at least pre-buff. But he was always pretty decent at the lower ranks and mid-ranks because it gives players a direction, right? If you're playing Jiraxxus, you just buy the demons, press the button, your stuff gets bigger. But at the higher ranks, that's not fast enough, and the hero power is too expensive, and you just never get there, and you're gonna die too quickly. So I think this buff is a really good change for the higher ranked players because it takes him from completely useless to now probably still not good for those players, but it's something that you can pick and it's not going to be useless. For the lower middle, let's say like ranks like 3,000 to 6,000 or something, if you're somewhere in that range, I think Jiraxxus is going to be really excellent now.
That's good to hear because I like playing Jiraxxus for the 2 times I play Battlegrounds a month whenever I get that quest. I didn't know there was such a disparity between the lower and the higher ranks. I guess whenever you get to the higher ranks, you tend to value the variety more and being able to like adjust to everything. And I guess Jiraxxus is sort of the hero that locks you into exactly one playing strategy, and it only really starts paying off when you have a full board of big demons. That makes sense.
Especially. Demons aren't really the team comp that wins the lobby. They might get you top 3, but at some point you're probably going to fight a Murloc player who has Divine Shield and Poison, or you're going to fight a Beast player whose beasts are just huge, or something like that. So high rank players tend to shy away from demons unless they really have to pick them.
So I guess it's a good change. I think I like it. So what do we have next?
I think so. I think it's a long time coming. I think it's not a surprising one to me.
Yeah, next up we've got the Reno Jackson hero power, also going to be reduced by 1 gold, and now costs 2 instead of previously 3.
Now, I personally, I'm not sure how much of a difference this really makes, because this is a one-time use, right? One-time use per game. This means you can make it happen sooner, in like a sooner turn, and still make the same play, maybe. But it's still once per game, and I've never played Reno, and but I would assume that it's usually more of a value-oriented strategy anyway. You use it later in the game to get a great copy of one of your very strong value minions. So I'm not sure how big this effect really is going to be, but maybe you can speak on this a little better.
I'm going to agree with you fully. The exception when you would use it really early in the game was usually with Rabid Sorrelisk, which was a tier 1 minion, but we'll see later that that's moving to tier 2, so that strategy is changing anyway. I agree that changing this from 3 mana to 2 or 3 gold to 2 probably won't change that much. And this hero power also used to be 4 gold. They already changed it from 4 to 3. So it's kind of a strange change for me. I didn't really see it coming, but I'm one of the people who really likes playing Reno. I think he's a lot of fun. So I'm happy with it just because I think I'm one of the few people who's picking Reno really frequently.
Do you think maybe to make the hero power more fitting or make more of an impactful change, they should adjust the way that it works? Like, for example, you can use it once every, like, 6 turns or so, like twice, 3 times a game, and keep it at the higher cost instead? Or maybe should they just start or keep adjusting the cost down until it seems balanced?
That's an interesting question. So I actually think Reno's pretty good right now, but most people would disagree with me. And the stats don't really agree with me. So if the developers still want it to be better and they don't think that this buff is enough, yeah, I think they could change it to make it twice per game and then move it back to 3 or 4 gold. Or put like a cooldown timer, like you said, after 6 turns you can use it again, something like that. I think that would be fun. I don't think it's necessary because I actually like the hero as is, but they could do it.
We'll see how they choose to go with it. I guess if it's not terrible, maybe this change is finally what's going to manifest it as decently playable at all ranks.
Mm-hmm. I think the reason that a lot of players think Reno is really bad is they will save the hero power until they have a really high value minion like Baron, Rivendare, or Bran, and by that point they've already lost so much health and they just die. A lot of the time you just have to use it on like a hangry dragon or something, and it doesn't feel good to have to do that, but if you want to get top 4, sometimes that's the strategy.
Gotta make the tempo play sometimes, I guess.
Yeah.
Right,
yeah.
What's up next?
It's just like constructed. Sometimes you have to make the tempo play.
Yeah.
Right, there's actually technically 2 more. One more hero power that the last real change is that Max in Bob Maleficent Mana Storm hero power.
Terrible name.
Now gives Max and Bob's Tavern +1/+1. Once again, I believe it used to be that or something very similar at one point instead of +2 attack.
No, I've been saying for a long time that she should just be called Mill Housewife instead of Maleficent, but people disagree. Remind me if I'm wrong, but isn't this pretty close to or exactly what her original hero power used to be whenever she came out?
I don't actually remember because Maleficent has always been so bad that I never pick her.
But wasn't she very good in the beginning, like very early on when Battlegrounds launched?
Maybe very early because I wasn't really playing back then. I was really focused on standard mode. But I haven't played Maleficent in a very long time.
I remember her Max being really good like the first 2 weeks.
Yeah,
or so.
Max were pretty good in the beginning.
Max used to be a lot better than they are.
And that is when they changed her hero power at first. I think it was +1/+1, +1/+2 or something. They changed around a couple of times and they ended up on the attack buff.
It was +2/+1 in the beginning and then took the health buff away. And now they're bringing it back to 1/1, I think. I think that's what it is.
I feel like I've tried that before as well, though. She went through a couple of different...
They nerfed her at least once because it was very, very strong. I guess this is more balanced, and I'm assuming it's slightly better. The 1/1 is slightly better than the +2, though I'm also not on top of how exactly Max are played at the moment. Whenever I used to play it a while ago, it was basically you want to get your junk bot and as many of them as possible and make them really large. And you had Cobalt Defender there to use it.
Cobalt Guardian.
Cobalt Guardian.
That's
you still
right.
have something very
Junkbot
similar.
used to be really good.
Yeah, Junkbot used to be the thing. I'm not even sure if he still is.
You've got a replacement now for Cobalt Guardian, which
Yeah.
is similar, but also gains attack, which is, I guess, slightly better technically.
So Junkbot moved from tier 4 to tier 5,
Right.
which made it a lot worse, which made mechs a lot worse. So my take on this Maleficent change is that I'd rather have the +2 attack than the +1/+1, because the mechs that I want to have Divine Shield anyway. The good mechs already have Divine Shield, so I don't care about giving them extra health. I just want to have my Deflecto bot, which is like the new version of the Cobalt Guardian, to have extra attack, try to kill some stuff. And then if I get to the late game and I'm buying Foe Reaper, since it damages the adjacent minions, I just want that to have the extra attack as well.
So you regard this more as a
I think they
nerf.
took a hero this week and made it worse, if I'm being honest.
So it's more of a nerf, actually. It's interesting. I always tend to regard a 1/1 better than a +2 in any particular stat because of just the balance. But I can definitely see where you're coming from with all the divine shields that you're getting with the mechs, and the cleave damage, the hard hitting, and a lot of death rattles. You sometimes want your mechs to die. I guess the extra attack actually makes sense. We'll have to see how this actually turns out in practice. It's very, very tough to gauge that. And I don't have a great view about the current win rates or the strongest heroes. Maybe do you know anything about that? Which are the best, and where does Maleficent place at the moment?
Yeah, so Maleficent is closer to the bottom. I think she's worse than the stats show, at least at my rank. For most people, if you consider there to be like 4 tiers worth of heroes, she's like tier 3. She's bad, but she's not like unplayable. But I personally would never pick Maleficent. I can't imagine a scenario where they offered me 4 heroes because I have the battle pass, and I would choose Maleficent.
Right. So you would assume
if you
that
only
they
have
intend
2
to
heroes, I mean, it's probably better than like some other really worse ones. But
right, yeah, I guess with 2 you might, when you, for example, you get her and Jiraxis, and
right, the old Jiraxis was worse.
Yeah, I guess. So they would have intended to buff her, I guess. So this might be a buff in the creator's eyes. I'm not exactly sure. We'll have to, I guess, look at the stats and see how it develops.
And I may be underselling the importance of the +1/+1, because if you think about like a mech that doesn't have Divine Shield, if you just think about the 1/2 mech on turn 1, Micro Machine, if you have +1/+1 on it, that makes it a 2/3 on turn 1, and then it just gets bigger. I mean, that's pretty good, actually.
Yeah, and that's actually something that I thought, where both the Deflector bot and the Micro Machine, for example, they grow in attack over time. The Micro Machine just as long as on the board, the Deflector bot from its effect. So if your things already grow in attack, having 1 point more or less might not be as impactful as having an extra point of health.
I feel that's what mechs always did. Right?
Yeah.
They're really good at gaining attack. You have the Leaper too, which buffs attack as an AoE buff. But they were never particularly good at gaining health, other than Junkbot.
I mean, a Noia module,
Yeah.
but yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
So the last change is not directly to a hero power, a more mechanical change is about Maiev's Imprison ability. If you have a dormant minion in Bob's Tavern, that is now not going to reduce the number of minions that show up when you are fresh.
And it did before?
Apparently, yes. I've never played Maiev. I've never.
Yeah.
I mean, so I didn't even know that was a thing, but yeah, that's how that works.
Okay.
And if you're at tier 6, you have 2 dormant minions, it's gonna still reduce it by 1 because there's literally not enough space to put 8 minions. But
before we get into Constructed, though, was something I wanted to ask you specifically. We made a report just last week, because just last week we got a big Battlegrounds update. We got new heroes and basically the whole pirate package introduced. And we didn't really know what to make of it, and we didn't know how strong certain heroes or hero powers were going to be. So maybe can you give us a little bit of a recap so far of the new cards that were introduced? Obviously, we're going to see something like Macaw that apparently was too strong coming in, but there's been a lot of discussion in our Discord server also about the new heroes. Is Patches not playable? Is Hook Tusk good? And then how is that sort of fitting into the game right now?
All right, so a lot was added, so I'll go kind of quickly. There are 5 heroes. Hook Tusk is insane, the best hero in the game by a very, very wide margin. Captain Eudora, which is the one that gives you random golden minions, is probably a top 5 best hero in the game right now. It's a little bit tricky to play, but it's not too bad. It's very strong if you play it well. Patches isn't great, but isn't bad, just kind of somewhere in the middle. And I think Patches gets better now that Pirates are going to be better, which I'll talk about a little bit later. Sky General Crag, I think, is the one that ramps up how much gold he gives you as you like greed the hero power longer and longer. I haven't had much experience with that hero. I think he's going to be okay, but it's hard for me to say right now. I think he's somewhere in the middle. And then the new one that was released yesterday but isn't mentioned in these patch notes is Arana.
Right, yeah, she wasn't the patch notes for the last patch.
Right. So the stats show her as being one of the worst heroes in the game, and I think that her best strategy was to stay on tier 1 and buy Saralisks, but now Saralisk is going to tier 2, so that strategy's gone. So I think Arana's no good for now. I think she could become good in the future if there's like really good tier 1 minions again or something like that.
That's the first time that Hook Tusk has actually been good. I'm going to trust your opinion on that.
Right,
People tried to tell me for 2 years that the minion Hook Tusk was going to be great whenever we had read the disenchanting guides, and I would always be like, Hook Tusk just dusters. He's not going to be good. He's not going to be good. And now she's rotated out and she was never good, so that's a W for me. But in Battlegrounds, apparently she's really strong, so didn't really expect that. But is that something you knew right away? For example, last week when you read the patch notes, you saw this is the hero power that's coming in. You knew this is going to be great, or is it so that just we'll have to see in practice?
It's something that was dependent on an interaction that's not immediately obvious.
Okay.
Which is, so her hero power replaces a minion you discover one from a tier lower. But if you get rid of a tier 1 minion, you discover another tier 1 minion. Right. You had to know that interaction was going to be there. Yeah, and that's what makes her strong. Because you could get a bunch of Rabid Saralisks on tier 1, a bunch of Wrath Weavers on tier 1. Now that Saralisk is moving to tier 2, you just play Murlocs. You just get a bunch of the 2/1 Murloc, the Murloc Tidehunter, and make a bunch of triples by replacing your little token minions, your 1/1 Murloc. You replace it to discover something good. And if you can do that, you should win the game almost every time. And I mean, that sounds like I'm saying you should get first place almost every single time, which sounds extreme. But if you watch streamers like Crip, I think, was able to get first place 7 times in a row with Hook Tusk. Purple's average is something like 1.5. Like his average finish is between first and second place with that hero. So it's very, very, very good.
So I guess we're gonna see a sort of passive nerf to that with the Saralisk that's coming up. But let's keep advancing.
Absolutely, I still think it's gonna be the best hero.
And we'll get to it.
Yeah, we have 3. I'm just gonna frame them at 2 there. We have 3 minion changes, and the first one...
Can I stop you real quick?
Go ahead.
We didn't talk about Maiev. You read the hero power, but we didn't talk about it, if you want.
Right.
I'll just quickly say, this makes Maiev way, way, way better. This was one of the biggest problems with Maiev, is that you got fewer minions in the shop, and now that's solved. I think Maiev becomes pretty good now. A lot of people hated Maiev before. A few people already thought it was a good hero. Now I think a lot of people are going to get on board.
I mean, yeah, you're losing basically one of the biggest downsides to the hero.
I feel like this is how it should work anyway, the way that it is now.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, yeah, it makes sense. You're not re-rolling the dormant minion, thereby it should not be counted. Yeah, that makes sense. So, the minions.
The minions.
I kind of almost see this as the first 2 kind of belong together, where they switch the tiers for Hyena and Rabbit Saralisk. So Scavenging Hyena is going from 2 to 1, and Rabbit Saralisk is going from 1 to 2.
Does Hyena still have...
But the Saralisk has 1 extra health.
Okay, that's true. Does Hyena by any chance still have the hidden effect where it dodges all attacks, or has that been taken out of the game? Because whenever I play,
so your opponent's hyena will always dodge attacks, but if you have hyena, it has taunt.
Right. Yeah, basically gets it first play. Yeah, right. That's pretty much describes my experience with this card in Battlegrounds, unfortunately. So what do we think of this? Hyena going to 1. I feel like it. I remember it being a strong card. When you would play the rat packs and the beast, the board white buffs, maybe even now with the macaw, and you get the pack leaders, the wolves that give +4/+4. I remember hyena being very strong. So how do you like it going to 1 and now maybe comboing even earlier with the alley cats? And on the other hand, the Soralisk, you've talked about it a bunch, moving to tier 2.
So hyena to 1 would be like a crazy buff, except that they're nerfing 2 of the best beast cards, so it's kind of fine. Like you said, hyena combos really well with rat pack, which is gonna probably be still a pretty popular card. Rat pack's usually a pretty popular card. And now that it's tier 1, you could get like an alley cat on turn 1, and then if you're a hero that likes to buy a minion on turn 2, like if you're a Rafam and you want to hit the hero power and buy a minion, Scavenging Hyena is probably a really good option if you had Alley Cat on turn 1. I think it's fine, probably because it looks like they wanted to keep a beast on tier 1, so they just like switched the Hyena and the Saralisk. So I think it's fine. But yeah, I think Hyena is going to be really strong, but that it will be okay because before Macaw and Saralisk were kind of terrorizing the games, and that's going to be solved, so it'll work out.
Yeah, I guess we should probably, before we talk more about Soralisk, actually mention that, of course, Monsters Macaw was also moved from tier 2 to tier 3. I honestly, when I first saw the card, I thought it was going to be strong because of the wolf that buffs your beast and the rat packs, and it's like, beasts do a lot of death rattles. This is a beast that triggers beast death rattles, or general death rattles, but I think it's best in beasts.
You've seen these crazy combos where people play like Rivendare and then this and then the wolf and they just buff their beast. They give their beast like +16/+16 before their opponent attacks for the first time, or something stupid like that.
I'm telling you, in like high rank lobbies, I was doing that almost every game. Probably 80% of my lobbies, I was going for Macaw Baron type of team comps, because it's so powerful that the only thing that would beat it reliably was Poison Murlocs. So it's crazy because Macaw, it's basically like having another Goldrinn, right? So if you're using Macaw to trigger your tier 5 death rattle, you're basically getting a tier 5 worth of minion out of this card that was only 2 stars before.
Yeah, and if it goes well, it doesn't even die. Is the other thing. It could live.
Yeah. It can live and it can attack again.
That's great.
So moving into tier 3, you're probably going to see it less often with like small death rattles like Kaboom Bot, but it's a good nerf because really like it got to the point where you had to play Beasts or Murlocs if you wanted to win the lobby. Outside of like really rare circumstances, you know, sometimes you can make giant dragons or something, but it's a lot harder to pull off when the cause of tier 2, you know?
Because they get it so early and then they start going at it. I feel like this doesn't hit the late game potential of the deck much though, because you'll still pick up the Macaw on the way. You maybe go now with your Hyena on 1, you pick up your Alley Cat, or even level on 2. You get your Macaw, and I feel like a lot of people will still go for the same strategy if the payoff will be there.
You can still go for it, but what you'll see less often is like people who have 2 golden Macaws at the end, right?
Right.
You might see a guy who still has Macaw, Goldrinn, Baron. That's still going to be really strong, but at least they probably won't have like 2 golden Macaws,
right?
Which
I
is
guess
just
that makes sense.
Really hard to beat.
Did we fully talk about Soralisk, or did we kind of skip over it when I think we
kind of
I think we talked about Hyena, and then you started going to Soralisk, and I mentioned Macaw because they do kind of go together.
It's going to tier 2, but it's getting a 1 health buff. I feel like it's sort of, like you said, sort of the switcheroo with the Hyena moving down. This one moves up. And I guess from what I've been hearing, I'm not that experienced with it since this came in, but I guess this seems like a good change.
To me, this is an excellent change, and I've been calling for this since the last patch, because honestly, it's a strategy that doesn't take a lot of thought. If you find the Sarlisks early, then you can just play every death rattle, and you'll probably get top 3. Because it just gets big fast, you know? It's not going to be like the insane Poison Divine Shield Murlocs, but it's like, if you just buy a bunch of Sarlisks and a bunch of death rattles, then it gets really big and crazy. But I think the reason it's getting nerfed now instead of like 2 weeks ago is because of Hook Tusk. Because like I said, Hook Tusk can just replace their tier 1 minions with more Sarlisks, and sometimes they'll get like 3 gold Sarlisks or something. It's really hard to deal with. And then again, the Macaw synergy, where you have big Sarlisks, you have Macaw, Goldrin, and all your stuff is just like 90-90 stats. Like, what can you do about that?
It's too much.
So I'm happy to see this nerf.
I feel like that makes sense, what you're saying. If you want to have these cards that can potentially break the game, I guess moving them up just by a tier makes it a lot more balanced, because the earlier you get them specifically, the harder it is to do anything against them if you start.
And the faster the strategies manifest, so...
Yeah, exactly. So I think these seem like good changes.
Yeah,
Hyena in that sense is, I guess, the less dangerous card to be able to pick up on 1.
It'll still be annoying if you fight somebody on turn 2 and they have a Hyena and an Alley Cat, you just have no chance to beat them. But it's at least better than when you fight somebody early and they have like a golden Sarlisk and you're like, well, my stuff can never kill this.
Exactly. That makes sense.
On top of the actual changes, we also have 2 bug fixes for Battlegrounds. The first one is that apparently there was issues with both Lady Vash and Maiev that triggered, as they put it, unintended effects in the shop phase. I admittedly don't know much about that.
Can you speak on that? Do you know what they mean by that?
Nope.
Okay.
No, I do not know anything about that.
And another one that's more straightforward is that Sneeds can now summon legendary minions that were more recently added, because apparently it couldn't before.
Which was tough to notice, I suppose.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I never noticed that, but it sounds like a good fix.
Yeah, I think I said that to Alex right before we started recording. I was like, you would have had to play a lot of games and then somehow notice that you never gotten anything new, and to actually realize that's a thing.
Exactly.
I mean, that just makes the card work as intended, so that's good.
I would have just assumed that I was getting unlucky or something. So I wouldn't have noticed, but it's a good fix.
And I don't even think that makes it particularly stronger or worse. It makes it a little bit less predictable, which generally makes things a little weaker, but I think in this case it doesn't even matter that much. And some of the newer legendaries are pretty strong, so maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, mostly the new cards are pirates, and the pirate legendaries aren't too bad, but they're also not too amazing. So, somewhere in the middle.
Probably not a big buff or nerf, just an adjustment to how it should be. We have some constructed things to talk about. Well, two. 2 twin constructed things to talk about. And this one hit, I want to say luckily, but in a way also unluckily. But I think overall it's still fortunate it hit just 2 days before the final deck, or the registration deadline for our tournament, and 4 days before deck submission. Now we're hosting this tournament for the 3rd time, and so far we have somehow managed to dodge any patches or card updates throughout the entirety of both of the first tournaments, which both went for over a month, by the way.
Yeah, we had new cards. We had new cards come out in the meantime, but that luckily doesn't really affect the tournament meta.
That doesn't affect the tournament meta.
But we didn't have any nerfs or buffs or anything like that.
And Twin Slice seems like a card that will be highly represented in the tournament, as a lot of people are presumably going to be playing a Demon Hunter.
At the very least, it would have been. And you don't...
Yeah, it would have been. People have a couple of days now to decide to maybe kick out the deck. But that's something we have to gauge and talk about right now. So how much worse does this change actually make the deck? Now, the Twin Slices are going from 0 mana to 1 mana. The second slice is also now 1 mana.
But they get +2 attack instead of previously +1.
Yes.
Which, on its face, seems to still make the card slightly worse, but more importantly, if you look at it in the context of the decks that it goes in, I can't help but think that this is a rather significant indirect nerf to Ultras.
Oh yeah, Ultras for sure. I believe that's one of the main cards that were targeted, because he likes the free cards so much. Now, I think they're getting worse because 1 mana is not worth 1 attack, or 1 attack is not worth full mana. In that sense, but maybe it now fits in better, because this card essentially was 2 attack for 0 mana, right? Because it just adds the same thing. You can always play them at the time. So this, I guess, fits in better with what's the card's name? Chaos Strike, I believe, 2 mana, which also gives you 2 attack and it draws you 1 card. And I guess drawing a card is worth about 1 mana, maybe 1.2 mana or so. So I guess it fits in a little bit better with that. I liked it at 0, but it's definitely better than if they had just moved it up and not buffed it. Because then at that point it would have been push your hero power, like twin spell push your hero power, which is not good enough for a card to be included. So maybe what do you think about this? Do you think this is a good change? Do you like it? Maybe you have some information about what the reason for this was? And do you think it's still going to be included in the known Tempo Demon Hunter builds?
So I would say it's also a pretty significant nerf. You mentioned Altruist. I think you hit the nail on the head there. I would also mention Satyr Overseer. People want to play a 4/2 and get a 2/2 for free on turn 3. And Glaive-bound Adept on turn 5, you can use the old Twin Slice and then deal 4 damage with the Glaive-bound Adept, which is the 5 mana 6/4. Now that this is going to 1 mana, it slows you down by a whole turn. So I still think that Twin Slice is a really powerful card. 2 mana deal 4, you can compare that to Eviscerate in Rogue or his Heroic Strike in Warrior. Warrior doesn't really play Heroic Strike, but Rogues love Eviscerate. So I think that it's still going to be a strong card, but we might see players cut Glaive-bound Adept and go a little bit of a different direction there. I'm not a Demon Hunter expert, so it's hard for me to say, but I do think that this was a good nerf if the intent was to slow down the Demon Hunters a bit. If they thought, Demon Hunter's just killing people too fast, then I like this nerf because of those interactions that I mentioned.
Right, that's a very good point. Some Pirate Warriors do play Heroic Strike at the moment, and I guess that's also, I guess, the best comparison right now, because it's basically the exact same thing with a little bit more flexibility.
It's more flexible.
So I'd say it's a slightly better Heroic Strike in a class that's
true.
Equally to Warrior likes attacking with the hero. And I like the interactions that you mentioned. I guess it's more of the comboing potential that they wanted to slow down here, rather than the strength of the actual card. Because Twin Slice itself was never a card that would break games like in the beginning. Priestess of Fury or Imprison Antient did, or Altruist to a degree also. But a lot of the Demon Hunter synergies were very, very strong. And you mentioned this was a very, very good card just to have on the hand. And just to use in those situations where you need to proc a combo for your hero attacking.
Yeah, and also, this is just, once again, shows that Blizzard very much likes slowing down the Demon Hunter when they make changes to it. Glaive-bound Adept was mentioned, which was already nerfed before. You also mentioned the Priestess of Fury, which was also nerfed. So they really like pushing stuff back by like a turn or so. And yeah, I think as a card itself, it is still slightly weaker than before. It's by no means underpowered. Again, the Heroic Strike comparison is perfect. It's more flexible. You can spend it over 2 turns if you have like 1 mana left over here and there.
Strictly better against counterspell.
Yeah, and because you only lose 1 mana.
Exactly.
Because you still don't get a second.
You still get to attack with 2 attack. You need to lose all of it.
No, you don't get the second card. You just don't get. Just don't spend the second.
Oh, the twin spell doesn't. Yeah, right. It's not even a twin spell. So.
It's not even an actual twin spell, but even the actual twin spell acts that way, I think.
Terrible.
But yeah, also the flexibility is a little bit reduced because the other thing is not just those situations that we talked about where how you want to use it, but sometimes you just gotta remove that minion that has like just 1 too many points of health, and you can still play a regular turn and get that extra point of attack on your hero that way.
Yeah. Question is, does that now maybe make an idea of a combo Demon Hunter a little bit better? Including something like Kael'thas, those 2, and then the Inner Demon sort of thing, because you get an extra attack out of these. So if you're holding both of your Twin Slices, you'll basically play a Kael'thas, the Twin Slices, the Inner Demon, more Twin Slices, and you're building your attack up higher. I think that's...
Correct me if I'm wrong, Kale is 7, right?
Kale is 7, you need a coin.
That's exactly what I was gonna get at. It makes it harder to pull it off more than once per turn, so that definitely makes it makes the combo worse.
Yeah.
I don't think it matters much if you get 2 extra
Probably.
points of attack.
Probably.
Or 4 if you somehow pull it off twice. I don't think it matters as much as... Because before you could have done it on turn 7, right? You have 2 Twin Senses, 2 Inner Demons on hand, you could deal 20 damage on turn 7.
Exactly.
From hand, and you still play the minion.
Which is
So,
decent.
yeah, I think that idea has gotten a lot worse.
I want to talk about that deck a little bit because a couple days ago, somebody hit rank 1 legend on the China server with combo Demon Hunter, and then as a reaction to that, some players on the other servers like Zalay have started playing the deck as well, and now we see these nerfs. So I think we will see a lot of players trying to still play the combo Demon Hunter and see if it works. I think you're right that moving it up to 1 mana makes it a lot harder to pull off those Kael'thas combos, especially early. But there's another interaction I want to talk about, or a couple others. First of all, and I'm forgetting card names, so forgive me, there's a Lifesteal weapon for Demon Hunter, and now that this gives you extra attack...
Right.
Yeah, the Aldraki Warblades. So now that this gives you extra attack, it's easier to heal more. If that's something the Demon Hunters want to do, if people want to play like more of a control build, they can do that. And then there's also a card that deals damage to like 3 enemy minions based on your hero's attack. And now it's going to be easier to have a higher amount of attack. So we might actually see a control Demon Hunter, as weird as that sounds.
Yeah, and to that point, there's also the idea of...
The Warglaives too. They have the effect of attacking multiple times.
And also, you have those builds with the big demons, right? You try to cheat out big demons, you try to get the big impact plays, you have the one who summons at the end of turn, one from your deck.
You play with Fell Screamer.
Yeah, you get the whole thing. That is, at the end of the day, you play control in the very early turns to like get to a point there, and then you have the late game impact plays, like a lot of control decks or, well, other late game combo decks maybe, but that's sort of a playstyle. So in that regard, these sort of decks do exist. They're not particularly strong in the meta, but yeah, with the more control options given, those are more plausible.
For control Demon Hunter, that's something I didn't think about at all, because typically it's just seems not to be what the class is built for. But this change should be a buff for control Demon Hunter, because you don't mind spending an extra mana to getting a higher value card. That's a good point.
And you know what I thought when I saw this change, besides the obvious stuff? I just had to think of Necrotic Geist. I know it's just in Wild, but...
Necrotic Geist? Why?
Well, no, wait, did I say the wrong Geist? No, it's the right one, right? They will destroy all 1-mana spells.
Oh, no, that's Skulking Geist.
Skulking Geist, sorry.
Right, yeah.
Necrotic Geist, some
so
that's, 2-2s, yeah.
Alright,
no.
So you're thinking...
Skulking Geist.
You're thinking 3 levels ahead.
I happen to be playing there in my big spell mage, okay?
Strict buff of Skulking Geist, you heard it here first. That's...
And in Wild, you know, people might have this in their odd Demon Hunter name.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's a good point.
Odd.
We've played Odd Demon Hunter a couple times in solo challenges when we did the Throwback Thursdays, which, by the way, was yesterday for one. It's every Thursday. That's why it's called that. We played Odd Demon Hunter sometimes because we could just clear the CPUs up with it because it's so strong.
Yeah,
that's a good point. This would now go in there.
And I always feel bad when I play a Skulking Geist against Demon Hunter because you never get anything out of it.
Yeah, no.
And you know, now you probably more often do. I mean, I know this is something. It's a very me thing, and it's a very specific thing, but
value. Who plays Wild? Who plays Mage? Who plays Wild Mage? Yeah, exactly. I didn't expect you to be the one to raise your hand. So that's the change that's going to affect our tournament itself. Is there any more in this article that we need to talk about?
Oh no, that's the
chance. Okay, then let's talk about the tournament real quickly, because we've been going for a while, but we have a couple more minutes. Of course, Lulnenko, you will be participating in that tournament. I know you've played last time. Have you played the first time also, or is this your second time playing? I can't.
This is my second one.
The second time. So last time, how far did you go? I can't quite recall.
I think second round. I didn't make it super far.
Right. So I guess your plan
is
to be attacking hard this time.
Yeah, I think last time I played really aggressive decks and it didn't work out for me. I lost to some control lineups or something like that. But
speaking my language.
Yeah, it happens every year to me.
Yeah, if you want to know what's going to happen to the both of us in the first round, he just gave it away basically. But that's how it happened last time. It's gonna happen this time again. But
And god damn it, I'm playing Heroic Strike, okay?
oh, Heroic Strike is going on the Pirate Warrior big time.
Oh, if you're playing Pirate Warrior, I support that 100%.
I probably will play Pirate Warrior, very very likely. I haven't submitted my decks just yet because I have 2 more days time, but it seems to be a deck that I've liked a lot. So of course you don't have to give anything away since deck registration is still open. But if you want to talk a little about your planning, like your strategy, are you going to maybe bring more control, or what can we expect from you this time?
I have a soft spot for Highlander Mage.
Okay.
It's silly, you know, casting a bunch of random spells with the puzzle box, but I just can't get enough of it. So I'll probably be bringing that, and then my other 3 decks will probably be, you know, boring meta decks. But if something really fun comes out between now and then, if there's something that looks really exciting, I'd be happy to try that out as well.
We'll have to see. So you and we both have 2 more days. You have already registered your decks.
Yes.
JJ always needs to do it early because he's the one who gets the registration, so he has to do his before other people send them in. For it to be fair, obviously.
Theoretically, I wouldn't be influenced by it because I generally don't have that many decks that I could possibly be building or would want to play. But yeah,
that's how
it seems bad if the person who takes the deck registrations
if your last one to submit
has a chance to look at all the decks before he submits his own. It's just that doesn't look good.
So I got to make 2 more points, and those pertain to the topic of live streaming. For one, we will be streaming the drawing of the seeding of the tournament on Monday, which is going to be in 3 days, and that's going to be at 3 p.m. Eastern and 9 p.m. Central European Time on this YouTube channel. We're going to be mentioning that in the Discord server, which, once again, join in the link in the description. We'll be streaming the drawing live. It's going to be a huge event. Attendance is mandatory for every player, basically, hopefully. We'll hope to see a lot of people there, and it will be fun. And other than that, also, I know you happen to be a streamer too, and you play some Hearthstone. I'm assuming mostly Battlegrounds on Twitch.
Yeah, I'll put a link in the description.
Yeah.
As a side note.
If anyone's interested, twitch.com/Lulnenko or twitter.com/Lulnenko.
Yeah, I think twitch.tv. But people can find you. Go by the name of Lulnenko. We'll have your Twitch linked in the description of this video. Give you a little shout out there, and go check them out. Of course, if you want to learn anything about like Battlegrounds or generally Hearthstone knowledge, just definitely a great resource to go to. So check that stream out, and make sure to subscribe to this YouTube channel because the Trash Bowl tournament's coming up soon, and we're gonna have some quality Hearthstone games. Soon as JJ and I are eliminated, there will be a lot of very strong games, especially in the later rounds.
I made it to the 2nd round last time, so don't knock me.
Because your opponent got DQ'd. You didn't win the game.
No, I think I actually got a bye, but yeah.
Yeah, you got a bye. You didn't win anything, and I do Sparrowhawk. Like, don't flex on me. I really want to play JJ, but then again, we can't really do that well, or hopefully it doesn't happen.
We could do it,
because then we would need someone else to record it. But we'll see how it happens. We are not going to clash with you, of course, because you're playing on the American server.
Well, if one of us and him win our respective conferences, that could totally happen.
We say it, but it might be possible that we'd see him again in the big game, which would be phenomenal. But this has been the report. It's been quite a long one, but a lot of important changes, and it's been great to get a voice on the Battleground stuff. Usually when we get the Battlegrounds news, all we can really do is sit here and read off the article and say, yeah, okay, it's kind of good, it's kind of bad. Because we don't have the inside knowledge, so it's been great to have you on, get some real expert information on that. And if you're interested, and hopefully for the people out there, we can bring you back on more often whenever we have Battlegrounds news to discuss. I think it's a great enrichment to the information we can put out there, and I feel like it deserves a like. So leave a like on this video, show your appreciation, and of course you can talk to us and Lulnenko among other people in our Discord server. Link in the description. Other than that, do you have anything to add to that for now?
I'm good. Thank you for having me on. It's a lot of fun. I'd love to be back to talk about Battlegrounds again in the future.
Absolutely. And you're going to be part of the soon-to-be patented TrashcanTV outro.
You can't patent that. You could copyright it, though.
You can't patent that?
No, you can't patent it. It's not functional.
Like, people can patent everything these days.
No, there is 4 different types of intellectual property. There's patent, there's copyright, there's trademark, and there is
but when we say like that's it, that we can patent. I'm sure we can patent.
Copyright it. We can't patent.
Okay, let's copyright it then. Just whatever. I want it to be legally protected, so only that we can use it. And whenever someone wants to say that, they have to pay us. That's what I want to achieve. But I suppose you know how the outro goes. It's not particularly tough. So we're going to get into that. And yeah, everybody, thank you for watching. Drop a like on the video, blah, blah, blah. I've done the whole thing. JJ.
That's it.
Lulnenko.
That's it.
That's it.